All right, we're on. Call our meeting to order. This is a work session of the Mayor and Borough Council of the Borough of Seaside Park, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, held on Thursday, February 1st, 2024 at 7 p.m. Pursuant to the provisions of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting was properly provided by transmitting the notice of meeting for publication in the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger on January 5th, 2024. Notice of the meeting of the governing body also has been posted in the corridor of the municipal building and in the office of the municipal clerk. Roll call.
Councilmember Anfield?
Here.
Councilmember Condos?
Here.
Councilmember Connor?
Yeah.
Councilmember Kraft?
Yes.
Councilmember Rotunda?
Yes.
Council President Wilk?
Here.
Mayor Pearson?
Here.
Thank you.
The first item on the agenda is a public hearing of the Seaside Park Borough of Seaside Park Development Green Acres funding application. It's listed on the regular meeting agenda as Resolution 22473 for consideration later this meeting. I'll read a brief introductory statement, and that indicates as follows: that Seaside Park is preparing a grant application currently to improve the softball field and the associated amenities at the 13th Avenue ballpark, tennis court, basketball court facility and playground. The MJDEP Green Acres grant application is for park development. If approved, it will allow for the improvements of drainage on the field, new infield, outfield materials, concrete replacement around the dugouts and bleachers, and the replacement of the fence around the field. As required by Green Acres process, we are holding this public hearing tonight as advertised in the local newspapers of circulation and as included on Seaside Park's website to advise the public that the grant is being submitted. Our consultant, T&M Associates, is here and will now present the park improvements and answer questions at the end of the presentation. As required by the Green Acres program, we also have the municipal clerk naturally here this evening to document this meeting, which is required for grant application submittal on February 7th, 2024. And we welcome the individual consultants from T&M here this evening, headed up by a team by Steve Schreiber, to whom I will now turn over the floor. Mr. Schreiber.
Members of council, how are you tonight? How's everybody doing? I'm Steve Schreiber, I'm the engineer with T&M Associates. I'm here with Erica McCookie and Gail Lala. Erica will do a portion of the presentation that talks about the environmental impact assessment of the site, and then Gail will give a brief summation of the application that we're about to submit on behalf of the borough. So as the mayor had read, the intention is to improve the existing softball field that's located on between 13th and 14th Avenue. As anyone would know, that's been there in recent years. It's been around since the late 1980s or late 1990s. It's got some maintenance issues with the infield. It has poor drainage, and it's relatively just old, and we want to upgrade it. And we're taking the opportunity to apply to Green Acres, and it's actually a low-interest loan. It's not a grant. So we're going to be applying for the grant to get the cost to cover the improvements that we're proposing for the park. So here's the site location map. It's located, as I said, between 13th and 14th Avenues, just west of Barnegat Avenue. And we'll be concentrated strictly on the softball field. The tennis courts, pickleball courts, they're not going to be impacted. The playground was just recently upgraded through an anonymous donation. That was probably done in the last couple months. July. And we also added sports lighting as well. We replaced the lights that were there with new lights. And all the new lights are usable through an app on the phone, so they can be operated from anywhere. So here are some of the photos of the existing conditions of the softball field. As you can see, there's always an issue with stormwater ponding in the infield. It's really not graded properly to get the water off the infield. A lot of the water travels around. The backstop goes into the dugout areas and ends up in the street or on the tennis court. that we're proposing to create improvements that will raise the infield to get the grades to push the water out into the outfield. But in doing that, we're going to have to put some sort of retaining wall behind the infield clay mix so that we can raise it up enough to get positive pitch. And we're also going to basically remove all the grass, all the infield mix, and regrade it and put under drains in the outfield to help drain the field itself. So here is just an objective of what we're trying to do here. As we said, we're going to replace the infield and outfield. All the new bases, we'll have new bases, we'll have new batter boxes, dugouts. The bleachers will probably remain, but we're probably going to have to remove them for a short period of time to fix the concrete underneath it. Like I said, we're going to install drainage improvements in the outfield. The existing irrigation systems will be removed and replaced prior to putting down the seed and topsoil. And also all the fencing is going to be replaced. We're going to have new foul poles. Right now, the fencing varies from 8 to 12 feet in height. We're going to make the entire perimeter of the field having 12-foot high fencing. You can't really see that. But that's a concept plan. It's actually all the proposed improvements are overlaid on an aerial. We have it here on the board. We can just leave this here when we leave tonight. If anyone wants to look at it. If you have any questions when we're done with our presentation, we can answer those as well. I know this is hard to see too, but didn't expect it to come out that way. And here is a cost estimate based on the concept plan. As you can see, the cost estimate, and the concept plan, I should note, is just that, a concept plan. It's not a final design. It's a plan that we put forth to the boroughs to develop a cost estimate and develop a scope of work. And based on that new scope of work, we're proposing a construction cost estimate of just under $700,000. And all these costs were generated from previous projects that we've done in the area of similar nature. And that's my part of the presentation with regard to the proposed improvements. Eric is going to talk about the environmental impact assessment, which is part of the DEP package for submission.
Hi everyone, I'm Erica. I am the environmental group manager at T&M Associates. I'm also the person who prepared the environmental impact assessment. So I'm kind of just going to give a general overview of our findings. As expected, you know, the property has been developed for many decades, so we didn't expect many environmental constraints going on at the park. But I visited the site at the beginning of January. Those pictures that I took was right after a storm, and I was going to the site to kind of look for any natural features, any wetlands, streams, forested areas, any habitats that were worth noting, and as anticipated, we did not find any worth noting. Obviously, there is flooding, so we are addressing that with regrading the fields and replacing some of the broken concrete. And then back in the office, what I do is I do desktop research. I look at all DEP, GIS data, looking at threatened endangered species, floodplains, coastal zones, any contaminated sites, historic properties, and the list goes on and on. And again, we did not find any environmental constraints that were worth noting. If you want to go to the next slide. So the site is located within the CAFRA zone. As many of you probably are aware of the CAFRA zone, they regulate development, and it's regulated under the Coastal Zone Management Rules. So the DEP has the authority over the development. This project, since it doesn't incorporate any new parking, and we're not enlarging the footprint of disturbance, there's no new impervious surface, there's no impacts to habitats. The project would be exempt from the Coastal Zone Management Rules, and a CAFRA permit would not be required. The site is also located within the FEMA flood elevation, as also expected. So typically, projects that involve any above-grade improvements the increase in impervious surface. If we impact a stream or a riparian zone, the New Jersey DEP would regulate any development under a flood hazard area permit. This project would be exempt from the Flood Hazard Area Control Act rules because we are not incorporating or proposing any large new above-ground disturbances. So again, that's another permit that would not be required. The only permit that would be required is the soil erosion sediment control permit, which once this project goes through to fruition and occurs, we would submit a permit application to the Ocean County Soil Conservation District. So that's pretty much it. There's, just a kind of very brief overview of our environmental report, which we've provided. It's on the municipal website if anybody wants to take a more in-depth look of our findings. And this is just a photo of the FEMA flood map, and it's also not very easy to read. But this shows the site, obviously, in relation to where it is to the bay, and it's in the flood zone. So, thank you.
Yeah. Slide. Yeah, so I'll stand for everyone too. Hi everyone, Gail Lala, Grants Manager. So as we mentioned, this is a Green Acres program specifically for standard park development. So Seaside Park falls within the eligibility for having 100% of a loan for this particular program category for development. So this application process required a meaningful and robust stakeholder engagement process, as well as the public hearing tonight. So we decided to circulate a flyer and a survey. So tonight we're going to be soliciting feedback. If you have any questions or comments or are in support of this application, it would be very meaningful. I'll go to the next slide to show the survey that was circulated on the borough website as well as social media. We've obtained at least 33 comprehensive responses so far, which were great, which gave feedback from entities such as the league itself, from those that use the park often. And we are going to keep that feedback in mind as we're rounding out this application process, which is due on February 7th. So we're actually about 2 business days away from hitting the send button. So we'll include a summary of all of the feedback. And it was very important for DEP, once again, to have input early on in a variety of ways through focus groups. We have a lovely letter from the lead commissioner. We've received other letters that will go to the NJDEP. So next slide. We would like to now open the meeting for public comment. It would be great if you have feedback or comments, if you can keep it kindly to 5 minutes. And then we can respond to those questions accordingly.
Thank you. And if, in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, if anyone has questions or comments, if you could give your name and address into the record, please. Yes, sir.
My name is George Russo, 202 10th Avenue, Seaside Park. My question is, why do we need a softball field if the town people don't use it? Look around, our town is aging. Why don't we make the town bocce ball, horseshoes, whatever? 4 days this month, I couldn't leave my house for flooding, and you guys are worried about puddles on a softball field. I'm sorry, we're still gonna have to pay down $600,000 on top of all the money that we spent buying land. Our taxes are gonna go through the roof. I don't hear any ways that we're gonna pay off this, all right? We're not gonna be able to raise the money by telling the softball people that they have to pay more. And it's for people that don't even live in this town. Why do we need it? The town is changing. Why can't the parks change to accomplish that? I mean, 4 days, I couldn't leave my house because of flooding on 10th Avenue when I lived 3 houses away from the bank. And you're worried about pumps? What is your plan for paying this debt down? It's not a grant, it's a loan. We're sanctioning us with a lot of extra debt we don't need for people that aren't even from the town that are gonna be using it. So why? That's all I wanna know from the commission. Why are we spending this money? Could we use that softball fields? Times change, we need to change. I'm sorry. All right? Unless you come up with a way for us to pay for this without raising our taxes, I'm totally against it. And I'm sure most of the town would be too. None of you probably live where you get stuck in your house for 4 days because of flooding, and you're worried about puddles on a field.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Hi,
If you
Scott,
could give your name.
59th Avenue. Just, I have two questions. What is AEA? What is that flood? What does that mean?
ADA.
8.
Oh, it's a flood elevation.
And what is that?
It's the elevation that, above sea level that is assigned to that particular piece of property.
Then 8 means 8 feet?
8 feet.
So you have to bring the field up?
No, we're not bringing the field down. It's just that would be if there was a structure or something like that that was impacted by flood insurance or something like that. It's a field, we're not raising the field. The grade isn't going to change all that much. It's going to basically stay the same it is. We are going to raise it a little bit just to get positive pitch out of the infield and get the water towards the outfield. But right now, it just accumulates in the infield. But the elevation really doesn't have anything to do with this particular project.
And the second question is, do we have an idea of what's the payout timeframe for this loan? Or we don't know yet?
I think it's 20 years,
20 years.
2%.
Yeah, 2% of 20 years.
Any other? Yes, Shirley?
Shirley Cresswell, 700 North Bayview Avenue. I mean, you started out saying grant and then we went into loan. There is no grant for this?
Not for this, no.
Yeah, so the best eligibility that Seaside Park has, because it's a standard municipality, it falls under a category where it doesn't have an overburdened community census tract. Seaside Heights does. So we're making the argument that at best, they can obtain the loan, but we are monitoring if there's availability for the Green Acres Grant Program, that this could roll into the Green Acres Grant. So in terms of the low-hanging fruit, we're starting out with a loan, but we're actively looking for other sources because there are other matching programs, such as the DCA Local Recreation Improvement Grant Program and the Standard Park Development Green Acres Grant. So the public hearing tonight is to be able to at least go for the first step, which is to see the viability of obtaining the loan, and then start the process to see if there's other available funding that Green Acres will make itself available to. So this is an annual program with some other layers where there's other categories such as Jake's Law for inclusive playgrounds, urban parks, so Seaside Heights might be able to qualify for the urban parks program. So this is a specific subcategory of the overarching NGDP program. So I'm available for any follow-up questions about the various municipal sub-criteria actions.
My other comment to, I guess it would be mayor and council, is, we need our boardwalk redone. Oh, that's a slow project. All of a sudden, this comes, poof, we want to do this, and then everything rolls. We need that boardwalk done. We also need that Bayfront project done. I don't see putting money into this type of loan when there are things that I think have priorities in this town.
Actually,
Right.
maybe Steve, we're off point, but your
Steve, do you want me to take that?
firm is involved in that.
So fortunately, I was also a grant writer. This public hearing is solely dedicated to the Green Acres application so that we can submit for this program. So this is as an aside. Fortunately, Seaside Park submitted an application to the New Jersey DCA for the boardwalk revitalization program. There was a revitalization program. Awards are supposed to be announced at least early February. This is ARPA funding that has to be used by 2026. So I hope that you participated in that public comment period that we did have for that application process. But if you'd like to show your support, this is an active application that's under review for the revitalization and upgrades of how many?
So tentatively, we put in for the entire length.
Right.
You know, but we're really concentrating on Fifth to K.
It's 100 million minimum of grants allocated to New Jersey for coastal municipalities that are looking at.
So we actually put in an application, like I said, this public hearing isn't really geared towards the boardwalk, but we put an application in to cover the entire length with the hopes that we get it. If we don't get it, then we'll concentrate on, if we get anything, then we'll concentrate on whatever that cost can cover.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Phil Newfield, 68 Decatur Avenue. That gentleman hit it right on the head. Thank you. He hit it right on the head. Great if it's a grant, but then keep in mind the town, like this gentleman said, bocce court, something more in keeping with the demographics of our town. It would be foolish to go into a loan when we're sitting on close to $6 million in property that we own that can't be taxed in the next 5 years. Come on, let's wake up and make good economic decisions for the taxpayers of Seaside Park.
Yes, Edie?
80.48 11th Avenue. Two things. Number one, if there's the possibility of the grant, why are we not going for that first?
So, should we just answer them in succession? Yeah. Yeah, so the first eligibility, so this resolution of this public hearing was signed off by NJDEP's program contact, so we've confirmed that Seaside Park is eligible. We don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot by going after a different category that they're not falling under. So unfortunately, Seaside Park is considered a standard municipality. So that is why this is the first available pot of money. They have a process called a rollover supplemental funding, where if there is availability for the grant, then we will explore that route as well. But right now, this is the first available program that has been offered for standard municipalities such as Seaside Park.
Well, I hate to say it, but if the fields have been like this for so long, why not just wait for when and try for the grant? I can't see going for a loan, no matter how low the interest, no matter how long the payout, when we've got these other much more, in my opinion, issues that affect more people in the town than the baseball field. Now, I don't know, have we ever seen figures as to how many people use that field and how many of them are residents, as opposed to how many people use the boardwalk and how many of those are residents?
We have the stats on it.
And I know it's not germane to this discussion, but my question is, when was there the public hearing about the boardwalk?
Yeah.
One more thing, I'm sorry. If we
You have to be recognized, sir. Mr. Schreiber on the boardwalk
Edie may not be done.
question, and Edie may not be done.
No,
On the boardwalk,
was there a public hearing?
yes.
It must have been well advertised, not understood.
We have a resolution to pursue funding to the program at TCA.
We didn't have a public hearing, I think.
No.
It wasn't required.
It was
No,
required.
It wasn't on that particular, that's a grant. That's an outright grant.
Yeah, that's true. That was a grant application.
We did have a lot of discussion about that at council, where originally we were only going for part of it, I think, and then there was a lot of feedback saying, why go for part, ask for the whole thing and see what
Which
we
we
get,
did.
which is what we revised based on
So we're-
feedback from the public while we were still in that
Right.
planning
And
process.
we're still waiting to hear. I mean, they were supposed to announce that program at the end of the year, but like everything else, it got pushed back.
Yeah, like end of year, January,
Well,
first
somebody
quarter.
mentioned that there was a public hearing, and I didn't think there would, but you cleared it up. A public hearing for the boardwalk was not necessary. That answers that.
Yes, sir. Joe? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. If we get the loan, we're not gonna get the grant because they're gonna say you already have it funded, in my opinion, okay? It's just, we're borrowing money we don't need to borrow for people that aren't even from our town. Look at our demographic. We're an aging population. Why do we need a softball field? We don't have a Little League team. We have towns from outside coming. I've watched those games. I live 3 blocks from there. And everybody's from out of town that comes there. I'm sorry, it's just, to spend this type of money and burden our taxpayers with it, it's not fair to the taxpayer. And I don't know why we can't see that. I'll
So,
be quiet.
Thank you. Yep. Joe?
Joe Urso, 137 10th Avenue. I have one question, but I guess it's for you. How much water accumulates on that field?
Oh. I.
A lot of it, yeah, a lot of it accumulates in the
We use
infield,
the
and a
word
lot
a
of it.
lot. We
Excuse me?
use the word a lot of water. This town, a portion of this town, fights the water every week. What are you gonna do with this water, that's a lot of water? Where are you gonna pump it? Where are you gonna push it? Where's it gonna go? Is it coming to my house?
No, I mean, it's not that kind of water, amount of water. I mean, the field itself, if you look at the pictures that we had, the infield holds water. I mean, that's what I mean by a lot of water. I mean, it shouldn't have any water on it if it's graded properly.
Or do you intend to grade it in towards?
No, what's gonna happen, is we'll put under drains in the outfield that will bring the water down into the soil. Believe it or not, there's a pretty decent separation in the field between the water table and the bottom of the grass. We just did the playground. The playground, we put under drains in, and it's been working fine.
So none of the water will wind up on the street?
No, it's not the intention.
That-
Well, I mean, typically it's gonna be percolated within the grass, so you don't get a lot of runoff from fields.
Okay, so we won't be seeing any water on our street, since we have no way to take it from our street, the public street, to the bell. We don't have a way of doing it now. So if you add 300 gallons of water, that's 300 more gallons of water in front of somebody's house.
Well, like I said, the intent is to bring the water below the soil and percolate it into the ground. The intent is not to push it down the street. You can't do it anyhow, because the field is surrounded by existing pavement that have grades assigned to it, and those grades prohibit us from doing too much anyhow. If you graded enough to get the water to go from the infield to the outfield, and then the intent would be to percolate the stormwater in the outfield through the grass into underlying perforated pipe.
What is the groundwater levels we like to read?
Well, when we did the playground, believe it or not, it was a couple feet below the top of the playground. So the under drain is going to be, it's either going to be a 4-inch diameter under drain, or they actually sell under drains that are basically like mats, they're flat. So we just need a little separation between the bottom of the recharge system and the water table. And again, we haven't dived deep into the design yet, this is still conceptual. But we do know that by what we did with the playground, that the ability to percolate water is there.
Not only, I don't do with the field is fine, but I don't want more water in my house. I mean, I had the water past my house, up my driveway, across my sidewalk, and then up the regular driveway.
Right.
31 times since then. Never happened more than 3 times before this. You're talking about a lot of water here in this town.
Yeah.
And anybody wants to give me more, I don't think they're doing me a favor.
Well, I think what happens
Taxes will
now,
go up higher than this.
what happens now too, the infield itself, because of the way it's graded, a lot of the water travels around the fence behind the dugouts into the tennis court. Some of it washes into the street now. We're trying to raise it, push it out into the outfield, so it percolates into the outfield. We're trying to prevent it from going into the streets, because the streets get a lot of the infield mix, a lot of it ends up in the street during a heavy storm. So we're trying to prevent that, push it to the outfield, which, when it was originally built, it did do that. It just, over time, it settled, the grass has grown, and it doesn't work the way it did initially. So we're trying to get it back to make it work and push the water into the outfield, and prevent it from going into the street.
They think that's okay. It's gonna work out.
Yeah.
And we're gonna, the check is in the mail, right?
I've done drainage a long time. It's not a lot of water, especially if you percolate in grass, you know, and there is separation.
Yes, sir.
Mark Schlosser, 207 10th Ave. How much revenue does the league generate on an annual basis? And first question, if I may.
From people using the ball.
It's probably insignificant, I would
Yeah,
say.
they pay us a use of facilities application fee, and
It's insignificant, I would say.
All right, then, not to sound redundant, but I would object to the program based on the fact that it's a poor use of the town's resources, because it really amounts to just subsidizing the leisure activities of non-Seaside Park residents.
they're not all non-residents.
They're all not non-residents.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the feedback, and I think it's good that we're having this. But I think to say that the demographics of there's nobody in town that uses it is not necessarily an accurate statement, because there are a lot of people who participate in those leagues that live here. And I do agree with you about the changing demographics, certainly, and especially in the off-season. But in the summer, when it is used, our demographics are very different than they are on a year-round basis. So I think we need to acknowledge that we're not just a winter town, that we bring in residents, renters, visitors all summer long. So you need to have something. I'm not saying that some of the other ideas aren't potentially good things that you'd want to have in a town as well, but I don't think that it's not used by residents, in my opinion.
Yeah. And that field is not necessarily only just used for baseball and softball. I see people playing lacrosse, I see people playing football, I see people using that field for a lot of different reasons.
I can't agree more. I live a half block up from the field. I see it quite a bit every day, every afternoon, every evening, all year long, and I've seen it for decades too. The field, it's not just the softball league. It's used for a lot of things. Thanksgiving time, people having touched football games down there over the years, including my family. So it's a lot more than just the softball.
Thank you, John.
It's an open
Anyone else?
recreation.
Yes, sir.
I'm Tom Joseph, 704 South Bayview Avenue. I look at this plan, and if this was a grant, I'd look at this and go, this is really a great plan, and you're doing a fine job of building a much improved ball field. If it's a loan, if this were my land and I was planning it, and I said, okay, somebody's gonna give me the money, then I'd make an A1 plan. But if somebody was gonna tell me I have to borrow the money to do this, I'm gonna go, what's the least I can get away with doing this? This is not that plan. And my recommendation to the council is, unless this is a grant you're applying for, send them back to the drawing board and bring us a $100,000 plan to fix the drainage enough so that the fields are usable. And beyond that, I think it's a waste of money. Thank you.
Any other? Yes, June?
Joan Korzeniewski, 114H. You mentioned that there were responses to the questionnaire. Can you tell us what the responses were?
Is the survey still open?
The survey is still open.
And it's difficult to find, let me tell you.
You could give them the QR.
And while I just pull up the summary of responses, the grant period, the program period, should make announcements in July of 2024. At that point, that's when municipalities and counties usually make the determination if there's a go-ahead green light to enter into an agreement with DEP. So this is a non-binding process in the same way. This is a first step in order to ascertain if DEP will provide funding. So it's not based upon an individual opinion, it's dependent upon the department. And we had this resolution certified by Bruce Beckloff at DEP to determine eligibility, and that this was the best pathway forward. So if we can help anyone with filling out the survey, if they'd be interested, we can also share how to input the QR code or to go to the website link tonight, since it is still live.
It is on the website. It's on the website. It was also posted on the Seaside Park social media pages. And it's also in, I don't know if it was on the borough.
Okay, so there are about 33 open responses to question 10. Some of the comments don't pertain to the project itself, some are borough-specific to flooding, so I could just summarize. I'm not sure if I'm getting your question. You wanted to see what some examples
There were
of the...
33 people, or 33
That have
responses.
responses.
Were they positive, or were they negative? Did they have, that's what I'm looking for. Many people that I know had no idea about this until we looked at the agenda. So I'm thinking that maybe not enough time or not enough people have been notified about this. And I want to know if the people that did fill it out were for it or against it.
There wasn't a necessary qualitative for or against. There were about 10 questions that were specific to finding out, is the survey respondent from the borough, or where are they from? We asked for name, contact information, how frequently do you use the facility, do you use the fields? I just have a summary of the open-ended responses. So for instance, better playground for kids. Are the people using the field from Seaside Park? If they aren't, are they paying for the use? So some of them were questions. I think a skate park would be another great addition alongside the fields. Imprisonments. Adding more netting once is not enough to stop the home run balls. I like to volunteer and help any way I can. Pickleball courts at some point in time. So I can keep going. I think some of the respondents might actually be here tonight.
So it wasn't a for or against?
It's not a survey for or against. It's so that we can get a comprehensive view for making modifications for the program. Because I think this feedback is also important, not just for this program, but because there are other recreational grant programs that are underway that we only talked about one other, the boardwalk revitalization. So for us, it's not about yes or no, it's so we can absolutely get a comprehensive view for, does it work within the scope?
Thank you.
Yes.
Miriam.
Yes, Marion.
20710. I can't find this, so I don't know how we were supposed to get this. So, can somebody, I'm on the website. I go on all the time to read the news and check things. I don't know how people got this. Can somebody answer that?
I don't see it on there right now either. It was on there, and it was on social media.
Right, I mean, I just
Driving
looked too,
people
I'm
to the
not seeing it.
website.
I see the thing that says we're applying for the grant, you see the links to the concept plan. That's what I'm seeing on there now, as well as, there's a 3 links below.
Yeah, it was
but I'm not
posted on
seeing that.
January 19th, was when we actively started
The
to
last
receive.
statement I have, the last posting I see is January 17th, when we found out about this meeting and what it was about. I haven't seen anything else. I mean, I rely on this website for any information about Seaside Park. I don't go into other websites about Seaside Park, so I'm just curious because I would like to comment. And this was available. And you're saying we have 2 days? 2 days?
No, I was exaggerating that we have 2 business days that we're on our end, compiling all of the application pieces so that the borough has time to review and make edits.
The applications are due February
It's
7th.
February 7th at 5 PM to DEP.
I think the point is, has been made, but it ought to be emphasized on the record. We always look to roll over if we have loans such as this, if there's eligibility for a Green Acres grant or conceivably a Blue Acres grant. I don't think it's going to meet any change in the Blue Acres, but possible. We would try to convert any and all such loans into grants. That's a given and our policies here. So that's the fact that the best chance of receiving funding right now happens to be a loan doesn't preclude or stop us from converting it to a grant. And I think there's another point made, and I support the concept of looking for bocce ball, for example, other activities. The fact that this particular application doesn't include a bocce ball court per se doesn't mean we're not actively looking for sites for bocce ball. There's been a working group, for example, coordinating some cooperation with the school board. We've run into a blip on their end temporarily. I don't know in terms of the structure, upgrades in the building, but one of our proposals is indeed to have a joint shared services with the school board, and bocce ball is clearly one of the prime sites. In fact, we've got some plans on that. So. But anybody new? No. Dennis, you knew. Our fire team.
Dennis Vincent, right there. Seems like the same comments over and over again, so I thought there was something else. I grew up playing on the field with your son and Jerry's son. I mean, it kept us out of the streets, kept us out of trouble, kept us from using drugs. The people that live in town are all here right now. The people that come in the summertime is a different demographic. There are kids that come here, and their parents do pay taxes here. So you have to consider them also. One more thing, also, this gentleman made a comment about the flooding of the streets. I was out during the last bad storm we had when we had big flooding. The left field post, there's a gate there, and there was a river pouring out of there during the storm. It was raining hard. So that field is not taking any water right now. It's running off from the street. So if that is a concern, it sounds like that shouldn't be a concern any longer. So,
Yeah, the intent is to push it to the outfield and get it to perk like it's supposed to, prevent it from getting to the streets.
Shirley?
I just didn't get this straight. You can apply for a loan, and then you can apply for a grant. Is that how that kind of works?
That's the current
Okay.
strategy right now.
So if we apply for the loan, say we get it, we don't have to do anything in that ball field right then and there. Can we wait until we see if we get the grant?
So, yeah, the announcements are going to be made July of 2024 is the best guess from DEP. That's the anticipated schedule. So at that point in time, the governing body would then review the grant or loan agreement to see what is the eligible allocation that they
Okay,
would
but
receive.
that grant doesn't interfere with the boardwalk grant.
No, it's totally different.
Yeah.
So if we get the grant, then that's great. No, I'm saying if we get the grant, that's great. If we don't, and we only have the loan, then perhaps we need to look at this again and see about scaling back.
In July.
Waiting another year until we get some other projects done in town.
Yes, Miriam?
Miriam again. Is the field in such bad shape that people can't go and enjoy it and have a wonderful time? Doesn't look like it. I mean, is it that necessary that it has to be redone? Sure, it will look beautiful, the fence, the fence is kind of crappy looking right now. I walked by it today. It looked fine. I couldn't walk past 14 in Bay because it was flooded.
And then I think,
There are bigger problems, I think.
my
Is it
understanding
really
is,
that bad that people can't play and enjoy the game?
well,
Everybody having sports.
my understanding is that the maintenance to just get the water off the field after it rains, it takes a lot of effort.
In the summer,
Yeah,
there's a problem in the summer.
they postponed probably 15 games this summer because of the rain.
George said we couldn't get out of our house 4 days, and I think he was wrong. I think it was more than 4 days. That we couldn't even drive our cars out of our.
I live on 11, almost across from you on 10th, and I had to use a 2x8 to get into my truck. I had to park my car a
And
block and a half
sometimes
away.
it's funny, I look at 11th and there's no flooding, and I'm like, ooh, I
Well,
can
it's,
walk down
it's,
11th.
it's way bad.
10th was worse.
I think we have to also, I'm kind of leaning where you got, so talking about the loan versus grants, and I just want to make sure we're clear so we don't walk away, people saying they heard something that I'm not clear I'm understanding either. This application that we're putting in now will enable us to find out if we're even eligible for this loan. The same application is not being placed in for the grants, because I thought you said earlier that our municipality is not eligible at this time for a grant for this type of project. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so to Shirley's point, I think we just have to be clear, because I don't want people to say, well, you said on that meeting that this was the case. We're applying right now for this DEP loan for this project. We get to decide after that decision's made if we're eligible, if we decide to proceed with it, correct?
Correct.
If we don't proceed, the only way you'd apply for a grant is if there was still grant money left that other municipalities who are eligible did not receive. And some reason there's a bucket of money left, which never happens. Okay. So that's really the case. So just don't walk out saying, well, you said there was, we're not applying for a grant for this. I mean, I think you have to be very explicit. That's true, correct?
Yeah, that's
Okay, I just
correct.
want to make sure I understood. Yeah. And the other thing, I guess my other comment to the flooding in the town, I think we all empathize, whether we live on the bay or not, that it's bad. I'm just not sure that the activities that we're talking about are mutually exclusive. Because you can't apply for a DEP loan for $700,000 or whatever the number might be, hopefully less, that's going to solve our bayfront problems. So those are separate issues. So the money really, even if you don't borrow it, it's not like you have this money that's going to become available to solve our bayfront. So, I mean, you can't solve it with this project. It's just my opinion.
Yeah, the intent of the program is not for
Right,
flood
exactly.
mitigation.
So, I mean, I think
on a
we all
large scale.
empathize that is a higher priority. No one's saying that that's not a priority.
Yes, Dr. Flood. Mike Spadafino, again, 59th Avenue. If this council approves this to proceed with the loan application, I just would like to know if you have any kind of a time frame as to when you might get approval and when you might decide to initiate the progress starting. Is there any way to have timeframes on loans and initiation of the project?
Honorable Spadafino. Because, yes, I am. It's a 2-year time frame to spend down the money. DEP doesn't necessarily hold you to that two-year time frame for complete project execution, but there is leeway time between the grant agreement and between the execution of signing it. So there is usually time to review before a project is initiated to then go into, we didn't put the schedule up on this, unfortunately, sorry, but usually we anticipate 3 to 6 months between bidding and construction, and depending on maneuvering around the league schedule and of any other user groups to make sure it makes sense.
Yeah, we haven't dived that deep yet. I mean, we haven't looked at the construction schedule or any of that because we're still in the process of trying to get the funding, and then, again, the design's not 100% complete either. We can't take these and go out to bid. I mean, this is a concept thing.
The answer.
But the loan, the award of the loan is announced in July.
So let's say we apply for this loan, and in July, they agree that we're eligible for it. We're not obligated. We can still look at it and do what we want to do.
Exactly.
And how many years do we have beyond that in order to complete the project without extensions, of course?
Their recommendation is the end of 2026 for the life cycle of the project. That's their general recommendation.
But often extensions are easily, or fairly.
Yeah, we have
easily
seen
done.
extensions, absolutely. The only complication we've seen is if the funding source is ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act, because there's a time clock for any federal funding
Right.
that was received from that COVID year.
8548 11th Avenue. Thank you, Gina, for clarifying. I have one other point to clarify. Okay, let's say apply for the loan, July, we find out we're eligible for the loan. When would we find out we'd be eligible for grant money? Do you have to accept and do the loan and then you're eligible? Or can you, when would we find out if we're eligible for the grant?
That is to be determined. So these programs, some of the programs have had new development, nuances to the program. This is usually on an annual cycle. So if there's a new grant funding round, it will most likely be that fourth quarter of '24. So it'll be around that August, September timeframe, because that's when we found out, this round was made available.
If they come back and say, yes, you can have the loan, how long do we have to say, yes, we'll take it, no, we won't?
Theoretically, it could be within 6 months. There really is not a specific time clock that I'm aware of for accepting the grant agreement.
Okay, my
Right,
point
executing the grant
is
agreement.
that if we apply for the loan and we're granted the loan, we don't necessarily have to take the loan until we find out if we're eligible for a grant.
Those are two separate processes, though.
Yeah, I
I think you're
understand.
merging them. I think we're creating a slippery slope of
That's
miscommunication.
possible. What I'd like to suggest the council consider, if you want to go ahead and apply for the loan, that's one thing. But I think before anything is accepted, I think there ought to be another more publicized public forum to get maybe a better beat on how the community feels. I mean, this is a pretty small group out of the community. Now, granted, you may want to think it's a representative group. I don't know, because I don't deal with surveys or any of those kind of things. But I really think in fairness to the council, in fairness to the residents, I think there needs to be more discussion about this. Thank you.
Is there anything new?
Yeah. I still haven't heard why we need to upgrade this field for less than 1% of the population that uses it. And the other thing is, if we get the loan, how are we going to repay it without raising taxes? That's all I want to know. All right, because if we don't get the grant and we get the loan and we go ahead with it, we still have to repay almost $700,000.
Yes, sir.
Tom Joseph again. I guess what I've heard in all of this is we can apply for a loan, has absolutely nothing to do with any grant. Therefore, if what we're saying is let's do this and maybe we'll get a grant, let's wait till there's a grant around and then let's go after the grant. This to me is a non-starter. We shouldn't borrow the money to do this project. If we can get a grant, wonderful. I'm all in favor of it. But this seems to me, unless we really have all agreed we want to borrow the money to do this, it's a waste of time. And I don't understand why we're spending so much time on it in that concept. And it made me really nervous when our mayor here in discussing this acts like going to borrow money is a source of funds. It's a source of a loan. And that, in my view, is not the way we should be fixing this problem. Again, unless we're going to make some small modifications, allocate some money to go into the infield where the puddles tend to form and add a little more sand so that it tends to drain off the infield. And then be done, until we can find a grant to do this properly. But just because we've started down this path, it makes no sense to me that we have to go apply for it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Phil Newfield, 68 Decatur Avenue. And if we do pursue a grant, can our consultant come up with alternatives?
Yeah, well, that's what we're actively doing, so.
Other than a baseball field?
Oh, that's not what they've been asked to do.
But discussion has been
That's not.
different or alternative uses. And I think our consultant should be able to present that because that's what the consultant is made to do.
They're not, they're engineers. So to reiterate, tonight is only for responding to the ability to, it's an enabling resolution to initiate the application process to DEP. So the choice is to either apply or not apply.
It's an hour.
Yes.
Okay, that's done.
So, Joe, one more comment?
Joe Willis on 137 Point Drive. How many of the responses to that did you receive?
33 were.
Why even talking about it? I mean, 33 people doesn't amount to anything.
Well, okay, so
Obviously, it's not something that everybody got an opportunity to look at.
Okay.
I mean, if you were born in 1942, the chances of you even knowing what that thing is, the word might be found, are slim. We're an aging community. Send out a letter. I mean, St. Jude doesn't put that on the computer and expect to get a few bucks back. You send me a letter. Drop a letter in the mail, everybody know the house. Don't change it. And then you come back and tell me what you did.
Do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nelson? Okay, last comment. Nelson?
Rosemead, 110th Street. The approximate cost is about 700 grand?
Yes.
All right. And what is the gist of the work for the proposed project? What is most of the cost?
It's scattered throughout. It's earthwork, it's
Focusing, I don't say scattered, but what is the dominant cost of the project?
for 30 some odd items, but
And we talked about the funding of the field as being fairly important.
so the infield and outfield with the grades and all that, around 80,000.
Yeah, I'll get your sheet. Thanks. He's got it.
So that would be about 80 for the field.
Yeah, they improved the, yeah, so the infield and outfield, the drainage improvements is around 80,000. Fencing gets a little expensive as it gets higher, it's 12 feet high, you're looking at 85,000.
And a lot of that improvement is going to be bringing in sand to raise up that infield. So you don't have to raise.
Well, you're gonna raise the infield, right, a lot of the work grading wise is gonna be taking out the infield, taking out the outfield, basically start from scratch, so you get proper grades to make it grade.
Are they going to be putting,
Under drains, yeah, in the outfield.
how many?
Well, I haven't determined that.
And you said it was about a 2 foot deep before you.
Based on the playground equipment, there was about a 2 foot separation between where we show water and the bottom of the playground. But the playground itself is about 12 inches thick.
So is the tide, anything to do with that?
Not really, because I think, if you, 14th Avenue, even when there's high tide and flooding, it tends to come up to around here. It doesn't reach the field.
So that 2 foot is usually prevalent, no?
Is that a light flooding day, or is that like yesterday? Or how about 3 or 4 weeks ago, when we had 20 inches of water?
Okay, we're in non-compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Any other points that haven't been raised? One more point. Yes, sir.
I know engineering groups tend to want to be very complete, very thorough, and you really want to make something that the town can be ultimately very proud of. But in most cases, that creates a situation where engineers present a Cadillac, and maybe we can reevaluate this and come up with a Ford.
Well, again, this is a concept, and that the point of this meeting is to get this kind of input. So, I mean, if the mayor and council wants to scale it back, I mean, this is what we started with. I mean, it could be scaled back, this is a concept. It's not ready for bid, it's not designed.
And it's beautiful, but that's all I can say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank everyone for their comments, and thank Steve.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your input. It's very helpful.
Thanks for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Any follow-up questions about the survey? I have my contacts here.
Could you put the survey results up on, and that up on the website?
Can we get the link to the?
Can we have the link, or the one I'd like?
Yeah,
Yes, so we're gonna make sure that the link is on the website. It should be,
It was there.
it was, yeah, next to the concept plan,
yeah, there
EIA.
was 3 or 4 links now, it looks like that one's not on there, maybe when it got pulled for the results, I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is on the website. This whole packet's on the corner.
Did you look back to our regular?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to look back to my regular sheet.
Oh, no.
It's the registry.
All my stuff's there.
Oh, okay.
I don't like to be this close to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No, I don't see any links.
The next items are on the agenda are for informational purposes. There's discussion of an outstanding escrow agreement with potential $3,000 contribution to NJDEP, approved project public access to the bayfront on O Street. And I had received this correspondence, and I wanted the council to be aware of it. And it involved a permitting issue that dates all the way back to, it looks like 2017 and 2018. And the former homeowner, through the attorney, was required to post an escrow with the DEP to be utilized for public access in conjunction with cooperation of the Borough of Seaside Park. And the first proposal entailed ocean public access. The property is located on the bayfront, and the DEP wanted a bayfront project, and the attorney is frustrated because now it's going on 5.5 years later, and the DEP has not acted on this. So the money still sits. So perhaps maybe Public Works, in conjunction with the administrator, we can look at something that makes sense that might pass muster with the DEP and cause them to take some action. It's money for the town. It's $3,000 to a project that the town should have in terms of anything arguably relevant to public access. And this is geared apparently toward one of the DEP officials' bayfront public access. So I don't know if anyone had a chance. That's really for committee to see the long escrow agreement that was required.
It's very wordy.
Yeah.
Permits, construction, and everything else.
I bet that's another factor.
I had one of these, I'll send them back to the
The other item is on the agenda, and I just wanted everyone to see some articles that had appeared in the Beach paper, and subsequent, and actually ironically, we have a very active ocean barrier island Mayor's Association with the 9 towns that border on the bay, and the last 2 meetings were being held in Bayhead, and you couldn't get to the Borough Hall because of the flooding that had occurred, and it showed some of the water, the levels of water suffered by all the towns, and of course Seaside Park. And I had promised the chair of our advisory committee to bring this up this evening too. I had brought on the floor before the beach mayors, and they've agreed to move on it now with a joint application of all 9 towns together. And we obviously have a lot of different kinds of towns, people of different populations, different political backgrounds, different entities and emphasis, but we've all had a common ever-escalating problem associated with bayfront flooding. One of the points that I have made for the last 2 years that they've now latched onto, and those of us remember the unfortunate aftermath of Sandy, and one of the promises made at the state level entailed the state collecting all the portions of homes, the refrigerators, all the refuse that was in the bay and barges, and doing that in conjunction with dredging of the channel for boat traffic. And all the towns had some optimism that we would be entitled to some of that, what was described as clean sand in the project. That is going to be, for whatever reason, the state of New Jersey never did the dredging of the channel, the boat channels. It never happened. And Every beach mayor that was there, those that have been in office for many years and those that have lived on their particular towns, of Bayhead, Manloking, Brick was there, all the towns. And everyone remarked that obviously with the sea level rise, with the New Jersey landmass sinking and all the other problems, after Sandy, it's become greatly exacerbated. It's gotten much worse, and the bay. And one of the areas that we are focusing on is a joint bay front application for every town, all together in a resiliency grant, and there's monies that's what we're having a presentation at the next meeting. And one of the other aspects, we're going to do it on various levels, and one of them is to ask that the state, in conjunction with the federal officials, conduct that promised dredging, and that we would be entitled to some of the sand. Apparently, the last dredging that ever happened in the channel, and Bill that knows some fishing background, I think it goes back to the very early 50s, very early 60s, late 50s, but no one pinpointed it at that point, but there's an engineering firm, I think, that's going to present a proposal as a consultant. So I wanted everyone to have these articles, and we have our upcoming meeting with the Bayfront mayors and the Barrier Island mayors, so that's something that we're going to be moving ahead on. The next item on the work session is discussion. It's follow-up. There was a great deal of discussion previously as to the 1993 used pumper of the fire department, and that had gone out on municipal bid, and no bids were received. We had a minimum of 10,000, is my understanding. Subsequent thereto, we determined to attempt a sale, and I can turn the floor over. I know Karen has background. We have some materials here on the agenda, and we have been approached by another fire department in another municipality that wants the pumper. Unfortunately, we do not have the garage space in the Public Works garage. We don't have any garage space in the fire department's garage because they have the working trucks there, and that has caused some potential diminution in the value of this pumper sitting outside, especially during the last cold front, causing a greater degree of leaks and damage than had happened before. I don't know if Karen has any input.
You summed it up.
Okay.
According to our attorney, we have a buyer,
and who we also welcome here this evening. Chief Vincent is here, Dennis Vincent of the fire department, and he has provided us a lot of this literature and background, and through his help, I know they've had the one company who is interested, if we would be interested in selling to them the used pumper. I don't know, Dennis, if you want to come up and share any...
Dennis Vincent, to the fire department. Before I speak, I just wanted to see where we left off with the bidding on it, because I think there was some information here, and then maybe some information on the wildlife tour group. I don't know if it was the same. Karen, could you just let me know before I speak what the minimum bid was, what it needed to reach?
So,
and then we also spoke what we were hoping to get, so I think I have some numbers confused too, so if you could just clarify that for myself.
So when it was initially on municipal bid, I believe that the reserve was $30,000, and we received no bids. And it hasn't been on municipal bid a second time because we pulled it back because this buyer got in the middle. And at the time when we were going to put it on municipal bid, we were going to put a minimum bid of $10,000 on. But when people bid on municipal bid, you don't necessarily have to take their offer. And I believe the thought behind that, and that $10,000 came from the fire department.
That's where the bid did come from. 10,000 was the minimum. Would we have accepted $10,000?
Not to me.
I'm asking would we be required to, if someone did place a 10,000?
No.
Okay.
And I believe, my understanding of setting the reserve at that price was an effort to drive up the bid, to finally get people to bid and then get someone to bid a little higher and a little higher and a little higher.
Correct. All right. From the Wildlife Tribune article, I was contacted by another fire company in the state of New Jersey. They are waiting for 2 new engines, which are 2 years out. They were used as a reserve piece with DH. They were to use it for 2 years. They're, I guess, in emergency at this time. The article with the $10,000 was sparked their interest, and they contacted me. I spoke with the chief. He came down. I brought the engine to the firehouse, and we looked over it. He came down with one of his employees. I think he was a mechanic, and we went over some deficiencies in the truck. Unfortunately, from sitting outside, it has received some damage. There's some water leaking in the roof. The windows are now leaking. There is an aftermarket fuel cooler on it. It doesn't have a drain on it, and it did crack. There's a snap spring in the driver's side rear, and the fuel tank is hanging on by some rust right now. So it's all sitting outside, and a lot of that's going from sitting outside. I'd like to see the borough sell it and make money on it. I do believe we listed for $10,000. They'd be interested in it. To move forward with that, they would need the council to approve that and make some kind of listing, similar to what we got in this bid, and they would purchase it as is. And they were still interested at the $10,000 mark after seeing all the deficiencies they had. There was also cracks in the gauges on the pump panels, and there's water in the gauges inside the compartment. This truck has sat outside before. We never had these problems before, but the mayor said we don't have any way to do it inside, unfortunately. So at this time, it is deteriorating. It's going to keep deteriorating. It's up to you guys, your asset. But we do have someone interested, and they are looking at other trucks. I gave the mayor another truck that I found online. It was 1 year older, and it had much more mileage on it, but it was running. There was no issues with it, and it sold for $5,700. I believe myself and Karen looked at had sold from $25,000, correct? Those, I couldn't see when they sold. I believe they were sold in the last 2 years. I think the prices were a lot higher. Now the factories are reopening, and new fire trucks are getting out. The market isn't what it used to be, just from what I'm looking at. Pretty wrong, but I'm going to bring to you guys tonight.
Put it back on the bill.
So the statute provides that when you put something out to bid on personal property from a municipality, the statute says if no bids are received, the property may then be sold at private sale without further publication or notice, but in no event less than fair value. And the statute defines fair value, and I'm quoting, estimated fair value means the market value of the property between a willing seller and a willing buyer. It's that simple. So from everything, it sounds like we indicate them tonight and tell them to send a check for 10 now, because no one bid on it, and fortunately, the state statute allows us, once we receive no bids, to do a private sale without having to go back out and publish.
It would have been really nice to get $30,000 for the town.
Yeah.
I was
Sounds good.
upset at being parents, and we were both very hopeful. We put a lot of money in that truck every single year to keep it operational. 1 year it's the brakes, the next year it's the tires. It's 31 years old, so the issues that it's had sitting outside for the last month or so, I think are going to be worse. We did store it inside for a while while our ladder truck was out being repaired, so it could have been outside for the last 3 or 4 months. It's only been outside for a little over a month, I believe.
Don't go into sales, Dennis.
Dennis, is this?
Stop at the sale.
Hey, Dennis, is this, I hit me with, is this buyer beware? In other words, they was exclusive. Okay, then
That's it.
buyer beware.
So as it said.
The drops that,
As it
falls
said.
apart the next day, too bad.
Right.
Okay?
And you would, in your expertise, would agree that at this point, it's an estimated fair value, what a willing buyer is willing to pay, and, yeah, okay, so you can approve that without going back.
Just need a resolution.
Just a resolution to agree to do the sale to, we would have to probably authorize a private sale.
And
Of the-
at
of
the
the fire truck.
$10,000,
At
and
the-
and clearly as is.
is.
So we're not, because,
What it is, pretty much what we have in this, basically copy the
Right.
pictures and for sale for $10,000 as 30% of their mayor council.
Right. We don't want to put it back on municipal, I don't think, we're ready to do a private sale.
He said that the information's on the
Oh, yeah. You can let them know it will be a private sale, we can, rather than put it back on and put a 10 and then, whatever happens, happens.
Okay.
we can entertain a resolution.
Authorize a private sale of up to $10,000 pursuant to this statute, sure. Let them know, right?
And that as is a crucial element, because my understanding with the chief that it is not up to current standards and codes, so that would be the buyer's responsibility.
What's this, number
And I
83?
understand, because of the backlog, the supply issues, that town and all of them are facing a 2-year backup and delay, just like we had when the fire truck was ordered. Dennis?
Just to add that, the last new smart truck, we had got the donated fire package.
That's good.
So if the council is so inclined, that would be Resolution 22483 to be brought up at the regular meeting with the as-is clause for a buyer at $10,000.
Pumper truck would be private sale. $10,000 as is. That's what they call it, a private sale.
Okay. Anything else on council on that particular issue?
No.
No.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, Chief, thank you.
The next item is discussion of utilizing a printer, to print and mail water bills. That particular entity is utilized by several other municipalities, and the arguments presented would be the savings of labor costs in particular.
So currently, we print, we fold, we mail the water bills from Borough Hall. It takes a lot of labor hours, as the mayor said. So by using this mailing service, Trek, with Wright and Tom's River, they would do all of that for us. And if postage is postage, we're paying that either way. But the big savings would come in labor hours in Borough Hall, which, we're very lightly staffed in Borough Hall, and so anywhere where we can save some time and human energy, the better. There's some samples of what the new water bill would look like in your packet. And it has all the same information that's on our current water bills. We can change this a little bit. It does have an area for a special message, so we can put out any type of extra information that, we'd like to make folks aware of when these bills go out once a quarter. Like Councilman Rotunda, we talked about at the last meeting, urging people to sign up for the reverse 911. So we could put special messages on this as well. And there'd be a small cost savings as well. Something, I wanted to bring it up at this meeting because water bills will be going out in the next couple of weeks. And if we continue to do it the way we used to do it, we're going to have to buy more forms. So if...
We don't have to buy the forms, we get a check, right?
Correct.
By the way, that number, the 3,300 or whatever it was, for how many bills was that for? Was that for every time you send them out? That price? Whatever.
So this was...
3366.
2,100 bills.
Yeah, this was based on the approximately 2,100 bills that we sent out a
Okay,
quarter.
so that's every quarter, it costs us $3,300, basically. Okay.
Karen, do you
So
sign a
it's per
contract with
quarter.
them?
I don't think we have to sign a contract. We're already a vendor, because that annual stormwater letter that Eric sends out, we do that through Trek. He just sends them a file, they do all that, they fold it, they mail it, they put it in envelopes.
Any other questions from council on that particular issue? Do we want to,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Go ahead.
Proceed, absolutely.
I think it's a perfect idea to do. I mean, it's a no, yeah.
Karen, do they still come like that, like today, we get them there, that folding, carrier perforation, all of that? They come on and find somebody to open them for you?
Yeah.
That same type, or is it
No,
they get
they-
filled in envelope
Yes.
with an envelope to send back?
Well, how about an envelope to send back on?
No, it doesn't come that way.
Doesn't come in an envelope to send back. A lot of people pay their water bills online,
Okay,
but it will be a folded piece of paper in an envelope going
okay,
out to the residents.
okay. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
good.
we're just looking for different ways to, some process improvement for things that we can do, so we're looking at everything. If there's something worked 10 years ago, it might not work today, and we're just trying to look at everything.
Okay, I think it's a good
I
thing.
think it's good, too.
All right, thank
So I
you.
think we should authorize it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Good.
Thank you.
Is that on the agenda?
The next item, we're revisiting an issue that had been the subject matter prior discussion, and that is returning Second Avenue to become a one-way street. And the issue entails what had been commented upon from members of the public as especially narrow and thereby potentially hazardous in terms of the summer months. And there were even some requests that it be summer only, but we don't have any other streets that are summer only. So that might create a difficulty or a potential danger if someone's used to a particular traffic pattern and it changes right after summer. So I don't know that is necessarily part of it, but there had been a request, and I know that went to committee last year. I don't know that we've gone the next step, and that would be really looking at the input, whatever is necessary through Public Works and the engineer. I don't
I
know.
don't think we want the next step, Mr. Mayor. We discussed it, people commented on it, and that's
Well, I think we got feedback from a lot of neighbors on Second Avenue wanting to go back to one-way street.
Yeah, but we didn't actually, get those details, like you said, do anything, research on it. But in the summertime, it is quite bad, there's no doubt about that.
Well, I can chime in on a little bit of research, if you want to call it that, because when the mayor and I were out about Second Avenue and going canvassing and talking to people in September and October, everybody that we had talked to there brought that up as something for us to look at, quite frankly, immediately. And they asked us, they pleaded with us, and begged us to try to make it a one-way street again due to the factors that they described to us. Their cars being sideswiped, mirrors being taken off, obviously 2 cars can't go back and forth there, you gotta pull into a driveway, or, who blinks first, where to move, so it's not really a great situation, and all the residents on that street, I can't say all, but everybody we talked to, which is quite a bit there, if you remember, brought that up to us pretty adamantly that they would like to see it changed to the one-way.
It's clearly a safety.
So it
issue.
is bad, there's no doubt, I seen it.
I mean, when I go down that street, I look to see if there's any cars coming. If there is, I don't.
Yeah, it's, I don't know why they changed it back. It was at one time 2-way street,
Well,
and then went a 1-way street, now they changed it back.
I think the last we
Two
talked about, we had to
eleven.
check to see, I guess,
Yeah,
what
the
the
process.
ordinances were, what we had to do to change
Which
it.
is all
And I
here.
think there was also discussion about which way you wanted to go.
There was, 2009, and then it went back to 2-way in 2016.
I know, but it's like, which direction are you proposing, that it goes, east or west?
Oh, no, it would be the opposite.
No, it's
It
gotta
would
go.
go, it would have to go from Ocean, have to go west.
West, okay, that's.
Ocean
yeah.
to Central.
Which direction is it?
Like that, it's gotta go like that.
Yes.
That's the way it was,
Okay.
you know, prior, it wasn't made
So
one
west
way
is
or one,
the
yeah.
desired solution. Okay.
Just
That's what I was
Avenue
asking.
goes east and
Yeah,
down.
yeah, I just, I.
Mr. Mayor, what's the,
Well, it is a local road, and it's not proposing to change anything on the state highway or a county road, so.
we have the authority to do this?
Just an ordinance change, correct?
Correct.
So my understanding, we can refer to Steve to put together a draft of changing it. There was a package of materials that was available, I guess, in late summer. We had some of the history of it, and it showed the public comments that happened that were reflected in the minutes. Back
Yeah,
when
it's
it
in
They're in
first-
here. There are facts. They're in here.
So that showed some of the history, and the residents were by and large very supportive back then, more or less, of having it one way. And I don't know the resistance. We heard varying accounts of where the resistance came from, so I don't know. So we want to refer that to Steve's office to look at the ordinance?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I support that very wholeheartedly, yeah.
Anything else from council on that one?
No.
The next item is discussion of a shared service agreement with Manchester Township for use of the shooting range. It's listed as Resolution 22474 for consideration and the regular meeting this evening, and that's, of course, utilized to make sure that the officers continue to be qualified and upgrade and comply with the various regulations.
Is there any significant changes from prior?
We've had that for many years in the past.
Okay.
I don't know, does any,
No, I think it's a necessity, and as long as there's no changes that were material, yeah, you have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, we pay per the day, $100, for the whole range.
and the next is also a shared service agreement with Ocean County for the prosecutors program. It's listed 22475, also on the regular meeting agenda. And that too has been in place for many years.
Mhm.
And that entails the various training, the FAST program in particular, to assist officers, paid for, and has all the agreements as have been in effect for many years on a yearly basis. And
Our officers are paid by money from the prosecutor's office,
Yes.
and not out of our dime, on our dime, so it's also a good thing.
And hopefully we don't have such a tragedy, but that training is necessary. The next is a renewal of a shared service agreement that's also been in place for many years with Ocean County for the pump-out boat. That's 22476 on the regular meeting agenda as well, as Seaside Park was the original sponsor of the pump-out boat in Barnegat Bay for many years, and the original boat actually was just retired. And that boat was named Seaside Park School, elementary school children had a naming contest. It was in all the papers, and they participated. The winner was chosen, and that's how that boat got its name.
The name's coming back.
But
Circle Life 2.0.
It is coming back as well with
A new boat this year.
a little credit maybe to a certain company, but it was Circle of Life was the winning draw, the name, and now it'll be Circle of Life 2.0. So,
Junior.
Wastewater, that's cute too.
And the only difference in this agreement than in past years
is the number of vessels that Seaside Park will be operating. So in 2021, which was Circle of Life's, 2022, which was Circle of Life's last year, Seaside Park operated 2 full-time boats and 1 part-time boat. In 2023, Circle of Life was retired because it was just no longer serviceable, so we operated 2 boats full-time in 2023. In 2024, the county has asked us to operate 3 full-time boats and 1 part-time boat. One of the 2 full-times that we always operated, Water Warrior and Pollution Solution, Circle of Life 2.0 is coming back as a brand-new boat that the county is purchasing. And then there's a 3rd boat that the Tuckerton Seaport was unable to staff the last couple of years, the Waste Watcher. So that'll be our part-time boat. And so the county grant covers, it's $20,000 per vessel, full-time vessel, $10,000 for the part-time vessel, so the entire grant amount is $70,000.
Karen, just for my information, what other towns do this?
There are boats that come out of Brick and Tuckerton.
Tuckerton Seaside Park.
Correct. But Seaside Park, over the past couple of years that I've been involved with this, they do the yeoman share.
Lion's share, okay.
Anything else from council on that one?
I have one comment or one question. I've never seen this before. There's a maintenance checklist
Yeah, that's,
that I think is new.
no, they do that every year. Maybe it wasn't part of the last couple packages, but there's a maintenance checklist every year.
I'm just curious who's like responsible for,
We are.
who's the belly button? I mean, who
does it?
Who verifies that it's checked?
The captains do.
The captains?
Yeah.
Okay. So each one is responsible for their own checklist?
Correct.
Okay.
Anything else from council on that one? If not, item G is discussion of a proposal dated December 22nd, submitted by Remington Vernick Engineers for HMGP Phase 1. It's a change of scope concerning Bayfront Wave Energy Dissipation Project. That too is listed as a resolution on the agenda for consideration, number 22481, and that entails a phase-in with a Phase 1, including the change of scope itself as required by the Army Corps of Engineers concerning the SAB mitigation component of the one particular project for the Bayfront. And that fees not to exceed, or references $18,000 for design and bid document preparations.
I just hope the redesign does not change the effectiveness of the wave energy dissipation.
That's been the issue with the various entities and agencies involved.
I mean, they want us to save some of the SAV, but at what cost to us?
So Mayor, this was all based on the meeting that you guys had with the different parties back in December?
Yeah, that was the most recent meeting. It was a Zoom platform meeting with the various individuals. There have been subsequent meetings with the Army Corps as well.
And so did this include the people that we approved the last time that we said we're going to help participate? 'Cause I mean, I'm seeing notes there, it says with Stockton University, so those are the ones that we said.
Yes.
The last time?
And Professor Bologna as well. And he's actually commented on this proposal on with Stockton.
I guess January 17th was our last meeting on this issue.
Yeah.
So you attend those?
Yeah.
The issue you correctly framed is one of the were deemed to have actually been given an award of the money, albeit that has not yet been formalized through FEMA. But the issue is, just as Councilman Kraft framed it, if the changes now suggested by the Army Corps minimize the effectiveness of the wave attenuation portion, FEMA will not, they'll pull the money. So that's, again, the two agencies involved not coordinating with one another. So Stockton is doing the computations, the research as to that portion, because that's FEMA's focus.
Would that be a non-starter though? I mean, you shouldn't make a proposal that you know is going to get denied by the other party, right? Is Stockton supposed to be
They
that?
have to give us the computations.
If the SOV is a very low number, then I believe the Army Corps should fall in line. And
That's
Right. I mean, it just seems like-
hope, and now we have.
I know logic doesn't always apply, it
No.
seems, but I mean, you would think it would be a non-starter to propose something that you know the other entity is.
Yes, but that's how it should.
Trying to find a middle ground.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's what you have to do.
Logic follows that way, however.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments on that issue from council?
No, since that work has already been, has been ongoing, we need to fund that phase one, but not phase two, which is the design.
Right.
This is just the change in scope. Application,
That's what
I guess.
FEMA suggested, the best chance of their award of money, but again, it's contingent on the wave attenuation portion of the project. Anything else from council? Any other?
Mayor, I'd just like to do a follow-up on 14th Avenue. I asked Karen, we discussed the project on 14th Avenue. Apparently, there's a holdup with capital response review for that Tidelands instrument. Am I correct, Karen?
Correct.
That's why there's a delay.
So we have the DEP permit, but it says part of the DEP permit is that you have to apply for a Tidelands instrument within 90 days of issuance of the permit, which was in the middle of December. CMA is working with DEP the DEP has not even determined yet if we need a Tidelands instrument. So again, another outside agency is holding up the work we want to do at that site on 14th Avenue that's eroding.
Right, this is the shore stabilization, I'll call it. That's
Yeah.
right in that south corner.
And we got a response, and she is out in training a good portion this week, and she hopes to digest this email soon.
That's from the DEP, that's what I hear, not from DEP.
So that's where we're at with that. It's not the borough, which we're waiting for the proper approval.
Yeah, just on top of that, I mean, come down there a lot. With the erosion that's going, we're in danger of losing one of those trees down there right now. From that.
Well, we're pushing and pushing. Like I say, without proper approval, can't get started.
No, I understand. I'm just throwing that out there for everybody to know that too. I mean, that tree is going to be gone. It's going to come down. Yeah,
I wouldn't want to put Eric in the Public Works Department in a difficult position, but it would be, we've seen another municipality in Cape May County, what's happened.
And that's why I brought it to your attention. It's not the borough. We're
And
waiting.
if you're out on your own,
Yeah, fine.
yes, yes.
It went rogue in the plan for that.
Anything else from council? No, we'll go into the audience. If there are any public comments on any work session items, if you have them, if you could give your name and address and Evie.
Unified 48, 11th Avenue. I'm going to be the first to admit that I am very confused by all the stuff about the bay, and I've tried to follow, but it seems like there's always another corner to be turned, another stone that gets thrown in our path. My first question is, the resolution from tonight for RVE and the 18,000, how does that jive with the 21,000 in the resolution 333 in December, that was awarded to the Littoral Society? Because that talks about design revision, and tonight's resolution talks about design. Is that 18,000 part of this 21,000? Are
No.
they two separate
They're-
things? Okay.
Well, they're not, they're two separate entities, but it's the same change.
Okay.
Same project.
I'm going to ask, I don't want to beg, but I'm going to ask the council to please consider having a public meeting about the bay. The people that get flooded over and over and over again, we all know are frustrated beyond belief, and I can totally understand that. I mean, one of these past storms, the water was up the middle of the central block of 11th Avenue. I've never seen the water up there. It was 1.5 blocks from the bay. People don't know. They know less than I know, and I feel like I don't know everything. So that leads to a lot of comments, criticisms, rumors, and that's not helping anything at all. So I think if you were to have a public meeting, I don't know whatever happened to that advisory committee. We haven't heard anything from them in 1.5 years. That present somehow in some logical, simple to understand way as to where we are in the Bay project. Because right now, in the public eye, people don't see any kind of coherent plan because they don't have enough information, and the information, like this. I mean, December it's this, and now it's this, and I don't know how it goes together. So I'm wondering if you might possibly consider that. I think it would be helpful, very helpful for the residents, and I think it would also be helpful to you people who continually have to field the rumors and the criticisms and the lack of knowledge and all that goes on, because this is, I want to say, like one of the top, if not the top issue that the town really needs to be well informed about, because they're not. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Yes, yes, sir.
George Russo, 202 10th Avenue. I mentioned before I was stuck in my house for 4 days, and I have a balcony, and I'm just watching when the west winds come in, the waves just blowing the water over, causing it. Now, down at the other end of Bay Avenue, they have a little wall. I mean, if we put up a little wall, maybe instead of being stuck in my house 4 days, it'd be only 1 or 2. But it's getting worse and worse as the wind comes over, and I'm just watching the waves of water just piling onto the street. And I can't even leave my house. Even if I park my car on Central Avenue, I can't get to it. Okay? Something's got to be done. At least show that you're trying until we get some other fixtures done. But it's really getting bad about the water coming up, and I'm watching the wave after wave coming in with the westerly winds. Please do something. Thank you.
When you say a wall, what you're advocating, you believe a wall ought to be?
I think at the other end of Bay Avenue, you install the wall this high.
By the marina? Where are you?
By H&I. Yeah.
By H&I?
They're about 1 foot high.
We did not install that.
Well, somebody did, and
County.
it's helped a little. And I'm not saying it's gonna fix the problem, but maybe instead of 4 days of being stuck in my house, it'd be 1 or 2. Because I'm just watching the wind blowing, there's nothing stopping the water from coming over. Some of it comes up through the sewer, but we're doing nothing. I mean, some people are gonna complain they can't put their kayaks in, they can lift it up over 1 foot. It's just very frustrating to be stuck and live in that part of town and not be able to leave your house. And God forbid, somebody needs an ambulance. How are you gonna get to them? But I see nothing being done. I mean, we're going for this other stuff, but maybe there's an interim solution that you guys can help us out with, please.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir?
Hi again, Dr. Philman, 368 Decatur Avenue. The issue between FEMA and the Army Corps, is that pretty much at the heart of trying to unravel this thing?
It's the Army Corps, I'm sorry, yeah, it's the Army Corps of Engineers not giving us a permit to proceed with our oyster baskets, which is part of the wave attenuation project, which would break the waves that are coming from the west that crash onto the Bayview Avenue.
What if I were to tell you that one of our taxpayers, who I know personally, went to high school and knows very well the director of the Army Corps of Engineers?
I haven't talked to him.
Can someone, can the leadership of our town talk to this local citizen and say, can you reach out to the director of the Army Corps of Engineers and try to bring him here and try to facilitate some kind of resolution?
Tell them to come forward, we welcome any and all help we can
His
get.
name and number, you can call.
Whoa, definitely. That would be most welcome.
John, I will give you his name and number.
Terrific.
Okay, after the meeting.
Any other? Yes, Shirley?
Shirley Cresswell, 700 North Bayview Avenue. What is the change of scope that they have to do? I mean, you say change of scope, what part of the project now is having to get changed? Like, what are they doing?
Several aspects of it. The pitch, the height, somewhat. Mostly the proposal seeks to take away a whole row of HESCO baskets to be, all the volunteers are proposed to be filling with the oyster spat, hopefully for the oysters to grow. And they're proposing the Army Corps to take one whole row away.
I think they were also cutting back on the toe of the sand at the edge of the bay.
Yeah.
So they're screwing up the design.
And they wrongfully asked for monitoring in terms of sand, like a promise or representation, which we've made for many, many years that we would do that.
I wish they'd come sit at my house sometime when we're going through this. You know, I had the waves hitting their house.
That's one of the frustrating aspects. The Army Corps was actually here, that we walked the site with them in the water. That a summer walking meeting with Dr. Farrell, who's a national expert, walking out there. Man, who was shortly to turn 80 years old. He's still very active, very vibrant, and walked the water with them to literally point out to them, there is no eelgrass in this area. Literally, and they acknowledged and agreed to that.
So have we solved that problem?
No. That's the Army Corps of Engineers, no.
And I know the last meeting, I guess it was Gina said, you know, write people. I think you guys have a better way of getting a list of all different people in the state that residents could write. And if there's any way you could possibly make up a list, run off 100 copies, I'll take them and start handing them out. Put them here so people can hand them out. Put it, you know, and people will write. It's hard for a lot of people to go in and try to figure out who we're writing to. But if you could come up with a list, which I'm sure you have.
Yeah, put it on the website.
Put it on the, again, with a lot of older people, it's nice to hand them a piece of paper.
Well, that too.
Okay. But I mean, you know, we could cover a lot of people that way and, you know, hand it out and get people to write and, you know, maybe a little pressure would also help.
You mean like at the federal?
Anywhere, I'll see. You already know. But going on up the line, you know, everybody, you know, I don't care. As many people as we can write, we'll write and see what we can do with it. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Shirley. Any other comments on work session, Joe?
Joe Russo, 137 10th Avenue. You have a lot of people looking at the bay, but nobody looks at the bay as closely as the team that's trying to make the cupolas that house the generators. They're there every day. EIW is there all the time. And all you see is they're pumping sand out of that hole and putting it in the bay, to the point where they put markers around it so boats don't run up on it. Do we know why they're there all the time?
I could go on and on about that. I know some people refer to the pump house with quite derogatory, the prison towers. They're not allowed to be hooked up into the system. When they were built after Sandy,
They were undersized.
no permits were obtained. We carefully worked with Stevens Institute, Stockton, Rutgers University. We had experts, and we also had the DEP Assistant Commissioner. They were all native plantings that we personally, volunteers, scouts, groups in town, probably you're about, we planted them. And they all got gouged out just to put those structures there. All the natural growth that we planted. No permits.
Does anybody know what they're doing? I have no, they send the truck goes up, they put a tent up, and they drop a guy sitting in a little chair down this hole.
Thankfully, you're not the guy.
Yeah, but the guy's probably making $110 an hour.
Sure he is.
And then you see the pump comes out, and then sand's just coming out. Well, I just don't know.
I don't disagree with you.
Maybe if we ask them what they're doing down there.
I'll just tell you that routine maintenance.
Routine maintenance, that's gonna be the answer.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Any other comments on work session? If not, I'd close the public hearing, and I'd entertain a motion from council for a brief adjournment, and we'll move to the regular meeting. Motion by Councilmember Babb, second by Councilmember Allenfield. Anyone opposed?
No.
As such, we'll stand adjourned at 8:55 for brief adjournment.